continuing coverage of elections 2016. Now, a lot has been said about the major metropolitan municipalities during this election. We want to focus on some of the important ones, but there's a huge number of rural municipalities, in fact. And for a closer look at the prospects of the different parties in some key municipal districts and metros, we're now joined by independent analyst Michael O Donovan. Michael, thank you very much indeed for your time. I mean, just looking at the screen behind us, we look at the national results. And if you look at it, the ANC back in 2011 had about, 62% of the vote, and then the DA 24 and the IFP coming in at just over 3%. Are we likely to see much change, much shift in terms of voting patterns here?
Well, obviously the big shift is the introduction of the EFF, who in 2014 got 10% of the vote. And that is going to change the character of elections. And if you view the EFF as rather whittling away at ANC support rather than the support of any other party, what's going to happen is that the ANC majority in many municipalities will drop. And that will change the nature of governance, particularly in urban areas.
I want to look at another key metropolitan, the city of Tshwane. I mean, it's highly contested, isn't it? We've seen some protest action in the run-up, violent protest action in the run-up. How do you think that has changed the dynamic in Tshwane?
Well, the impact of protest really doesn't result in people shifting their vote. The major impact of protest is people then don't vote at all. And as they pull out, as they abstain, it basically would, for example, in Tshwane, give the DA and the EFF an advantage, because the people that are abstaining are virtually by definition ANC supporters.
If you look at the screen, the ANC got about 56% of the vote, followed quite closely by the DA with 38%. I mean, do you think that is a close enough margin in order for the DA to get a foot in there?
It certainly is threatening, because if you take a 10% vote going towards the EFF from the ANC, you can see how extremely close the contest will be. So in a sense, what's going to happen that the better the EFF does, the better the chances the DA has of displacing the ANC as a dominant party.
Are we likely to see a lot more hung municipalities generally?
Very much so, but it's really a geographic spread, because what's going to happen is that in urban areas there'll be far more hung parliament, hung local governments. The exact opposite is going to happen in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly with the exclusion of the NFP from the election. I mean, there are two municipalities where the NFP was dominant in 2011. Now they're out of the picture.
Talking about that, where do you think those voters are going to go? Because it won't necessarily go directly to the IFP, although the IFP will be eyeing those voters. A lot of the voters might not even vote. They might abstain.
In my opinion, that is probably the most likely reaction, because the NFP was a dissident offshoot of the IFP. And it's difficult to imagine most of these people going back to supporting the IFP. The most likely outcome is they will simply abstain. But given a resurgence of ANC support in KwaZulu-Natal, that will probably benefit the ANC.
Let's look at another contested metro, the city of Johannesburg, if you can pull that up. That's another highly contested metro, isn't it? And the race is on for seats there.
It's very much the same situation as in Tshwane. And there's a general trend in most of the metropolitan areas where ANC support has simply whittled away over a number of elections. And we're heading into a situation where hung, so shall we refer to them as local parliaments, are in the offing.
And do you think the EFF can play a greater role there now?
The EFF is probably hoping that it'll be the kingmaker. But it's very difficult to imagine strong alliances being formed between the three major parties. DA, ANC and EFF are the three corners of a triangle. Any two parts are going to find it very problematic to join together.
What about the popularity of the mayoral candidates, the ANC's Parks Tau, the DA's Herman Mashaba? How would that play in?
My personal opinion is that is absolutely irrelevant. People are going to go and they're going to vote on the basis of the services they receive, how much they're paying for their lights, water, have the extent to which the rates have gone up. Those are the real issues that inform people's preferences.
That's at the heart of local government elections, isn't it? Service delivery, water provision, electricity, sewage. That's what we're talking about.
But there's also another dimension that we need to introduce, is that the things that we prioritize, water, electricity, housing, are basically stuff that are promises that are 20 years old. Expectations of the populace have moved forward. They no longer just want the free basic allocation of water or electricity. They aspire to greater things.
Yeah. Independent analyst Michael O Donovan, thank you very much indeed for your insight. Well, still lots to talk about here at the Results Operations Centre. Let's take a bit of a break. We'll be back after this.